Do you love guns? Hi, Gene Kelly here, and I've always been passionate about firearms. I started gunsmithing and went to gunsmithing school when I was just 18. I've been a professional gunsmith for over 40 years now, and I'm a licensed Class II manufacturer. I've been teaching gunsmithing since 1993. Now, we started the Gunsmithing Club of America 15 years ago to create a place where people who shared our passion, both professionals and hobbyists, could find reliable, trusted information on real-world gunsmithing. We wanted to provide a place where our instructors could continuously teach our members, where both hobbyists and professional gunsmiths could share their experience and learn from each other. It's to be a trusted community with reliable information. We knew that it would be an extremely powerful resource and tool to preserve our gunsmithing knowledge, provide our members with an enjoyable experience, and as a place that actually protects our firearms freedoms by keeping our guns functioning properly. As a member of the GCA, you'll have access to over 400 hours of gunsmithing instruction and techniques on video, all by qualified instructors who are masters in the field. You will receive our monthly Gun Tech video magazine and print magazine. Plus, the GCA members' website contains almost 200 extremely detailed firearm disassembly and reassembly video courses, hundreds of product reviews, firearms evaluations, and industry interviews. The Gunsmithing Club of America is a one-of-a-kind organization. There's no other club or group specifically dedicated to the art, craft, and profession of gunsmithing. As a hobbyist or a professional, you'll find that this is your source for the knowledge you need. So feed your passion about guns and gunsmithing by being a member in a community of like-minded individuals. If this sounds like you, join us today.
Well, welcome back to another Over the Shoulder. I hear good feedback. Seems you guys seem to like these episodes, and so we'll keep going as best we can. So one of the things we run into with these over the shoulders is I don't want to show you the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? You've seen me time a Smith & Wesson revolver. You don't want to watch me time another Smith & Wesson revolver. It's the same thing. But that's one of the things we run into is a lot of what we do is repetition, you know, a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over again. So be aware, we're constantly looking to get new things or different things that you might run into. So today we have a Weatherby Vanguard. The bolt is open. We are empty. The complaint is the bolt stop is broken. And actually, it's not the bolt stop that's broken. It's at the screw that retains the bolt stop is broken. So I haven't even had this apart yet. I am going to lay that over there. We're going to get this out of the stock so we can see what's going on, because if that's out, we are probably missing the spring as well. So let's get it pulled apart here and see how tight that sheared off screw is. Pull that out. I'm going to pull the scope cover off just so it's not in the way. The bolt obviously won't stay in the gun. Take this off for up close. And you can see right there's the threaded shank that's inside the receiver. So I am going to go ahead and take the trigger off too, just simply to get it out of the way. Then I'm going to squirt a little bit of penetrating oil there, see if we can see how tight that is. See if I can cut a little groove in it, use a little teeny screwdriver, see if it'll unscrew. Hopefully it will, because that is going to be the best of the best. Well, that was not very tight. So let's pull this off. And I mentioned that spring fits in that little hole right there, and obviously it is missing. So when I get a new one, I will need to get a new screw. I will need a spring as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up in the vise, and we're gonna reconfigure the cameras and be with you in just a minute. All right, guys. So I think we got lucky. I did squirt some penetrating oil on it. And then I took a dental pick, like you can see here, and I was like, oh, and you can see that it actually kind of spins already. So it's not Loctited in. I can actually take this dental pick and just about unscrew it. Might have to fight with it a little bit. I actually don't want it to just simply unscrew because that's too easy and you guys want to see what's going on. What do you do? So I do have a very small burr that I'm going to try and cut a slight groove in it. Now when screws are loose in a hole like this, often what happens is, as I'm trying to cut the groove in it, the slot, it'll want to unscrew itself. So bear with me if this is a lot quicker, easier fix than we were hoping. Oh, see how that just spun? That's what happens. Those stupid little things, they catch and then they just want to spin, which is good in the sense of it's not so tight that we're going to have to maybe drill it out. But it's bad in the sense of I want to show you guys that if you cut a groove in it, often it will. Use a toothbrush. And I'm gonna have to get a little bit of magnification here so I can see. I know my head's probably in the way. I apologize. So on the inside of the hole where the sear fits up through, you can see the hole for their bolt stop pivot screw goes all the way through. There's the other end of the screw. You can see it's roughly that length. So if we're fooling with this and it screws into the hole and falls out, well, so be it. Just be aware. I'm just trying to show you, as much as I can. So that stupid little thing wants to just spin on me. Come on. You know what? It's spinning. I'm going to turn it over. You can see the screw spinning onto the inside. So let's just go with that, shall we? Take a pair of tweezers or needle nose pliers and screw it. Till it comes out. I didn't realize it was that close, or I'd have held onto it with the tweezers. It fell on the floor. All right, so we'll go back to the bench now. All right, so here's that screw. There's the end I was trying to cut the slot in. The other end is blued. Not a very big screw. And here's the new one. So you can see what's what. So before we do anything else, I'm going to make sure that it does simply screw into the hole. That screwdriver is a little thicker than what I want. So screw it down snug. Make sure that it does not extend into the receiver there, because we don't want the screw to come all the way through to bind on the sear or anything of that nature. Back it back out. So I like this series of guns, Smith & Wesson 1500, HOA 1500, Weatherby Vanguard. It's all essentially the same gun. And I actually like it. They're inexpensive, but they have some really good features to them. Good extractor, good ejector. The bolt stop is one of the weak spots in it, because when you pull that bolt back, this is the tab that stops against that lug. Comes back and it hits right there. So with a little more time and effort, this could be fitted up. Whoop. Now see, I was getting ready to do that wrong. Got to compress that spring. And then start our screw. I haven't forgot about what I want to tell you. With a little more time and effort, I was saying. There we go. Screw that screw down tight. The reason we want to screw it down tight, twofold. One is we want the shoulder on the screw to come into contact with the receiver. Two is to make sure that that's what happens. If the head of the screw bottoms out on the bolt stop will be bound up, be tight. And it is. So we can do a couple things. One, we can loosen the screw about a quarter of a turn, and now our bolt stop works just like it's supposed to. But the gun came in for a broken bolt stop screw. What causes those bolt stop screws to break? Well, one is if the guy's, right, giant elk charged him, man, he worked the bolt really fast, comes back and it hits that, shears off that screw. That's one. The other is if that screw gets loose and has some play in it, it's going to want to break. So we need to take this back out and double check. There, the spring shot out. The screw comes through. And we're close. Obviously we're close, but we know that I actually need to shave some material off the back of the head on our screw so the shoulder bottoms in there and the head does not bottom on our bolt stop. So I'm going to have to head over to the lathe and cut some off the back. You can actually even see where it's scraped. See how it's shiny underneath the head there? It's where it's dragging on the bolt stop. So I need to shave some off just off the back there. Don't want to make the shoulder or the pivot area of the bolt stop any smaller. So let me get over to the little lathe. We'll get things chucked up and take a look at her. I have the screw in the 3-jaw chuck. And again, for the new viewers, this lathe doesn't have any auto feed. I use this for polishing and doing a lot of this kind of stuff. So yeah, I understand that sanding and filing is kind of a no-no. I get it. So I need to cut off the back side of the head. So I'm going to be using this file. I do not want to cut the diameter of the shank, so I can actually come in, rest it on there, and file off the underside. And we sit on here like so. Here we go. So the gun is a Weatherby Vanguard. I don't have any of these parts for a Weatherby Vanguard. This screw and spring are actually out of some old Smith & Wesson 1500 stock. So there's going to be a little bit of differences, and the Smith & Wesson 1500 stuff we've had in stock for well over 20 years. So it's just older stuff. So I'm just cutting a little bit and putting this on here. Try to get down to where I can see if it's starting to stick out that other side a little bit. Using my hand so I can see. I need a light back surface so I can make sure that this is going all the way down. It's not, so I need to go in and cut just up next to the head, relieve a little bit of that. Oh yeah, we're starting to starting to get down a little flesh. The real test is to put it back in the gun, but I'm just looking to see that if that shoulder protrudes out this back side a little bit, because if it does, that means it'll bottom on the receiver and the bolt stop itself will be able to pivot. Gotta be getting close. Gotta be getting close. So what I think we'll do is we'll go back and check it in the gun. Okay, back at the bench, I'm going to put the bolt stop in and then the screw, and not the spring to start with. Because if this is still too tight, I'm going to have to take more out. And I can... So what I did there, so that's just... That shoulder can actually catch on the hole and start to get tight. Well, things get tight. Well, it's not, the bolt stop isn't on the screw. Now it is. So I pulled it up next to the head of the screw. Screw that down in. Look at that. So the screw is tight and our bolt stop is free. Now I can put the spring back in. So again, these guns were made by several different manufacturers. So subtle little things like this, can come into play. If I was to have a new factory Vanguard screw, would I need to have fit it? Maybe, but maybe not. But since I'm using old stock from 25 years ago or more, dimensions were a little tighter. All well and good. Now we can put her back together. Last thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to look down in there and make sure that screw doesn't come all the way through into the hole in the receiver, which it didn't before, so it shouldn't now. And it doesn't. Screw the trigger screw down in. Take our magazine box. It fits up inside the receiver. Now I can take the stock and slide it over the magazine and over the barreled receiver. And that's one of the reasons I always trip this latch and hinge the floor plate up, is so I can slide everything down in. I'm going to start the rear and the front guard screw. Just start them. Not tightening them up. Because the magazine box fits inside a cutout in the trigger guard floor plate. There. I think you probably could see that. Fits up inside. You get a couple a year in your shop, if you're doing general repair stuff, where the guys take them apart, clean their gun, or do whatever. They go to put them back together, and that magazine won't, they get it, they don't get everything put back together exactly right. And that magazine's either too far forward, too far to the rear, or the trigger guard itself is too far forward, too far to the rear. They start bolting everything in, and then they bring it in, and they're like, man, it doesn't shoot like it used to. The aluminum trigger guards can break because it bottoms on the top, and they start tightening this down, and it bends it tight here, but it's held up here, so there's no support. It can break. So I try to always keep this up to make sure that magazine fits up inside the trigger guard assembly, front, rear, both sides. That's another reason I don't like those separated magazine boxes. They are less expensive to manufacture. I get it. When they're put together right, everything's fine. I get it. But it's one of those things that, dang it. Okay. Now that it's back in the stock, ta-da. Put our bolt in here. Good. Yep. So we are fixed. The last thing to do now is just price it out and call a customer, tell him to come get his gun. You saw me fit the head on that screw. I could have screwed it in tight and then backed it off a quarter of a turn. The bolt stop would have been free to move. But the gun's in because the bolt stop screw was broken. So why did it break? We talked about it a little bit earlier. A loose screw can cause that to break. So the original screw could have been loose in when it was assembled, and working that bolt gave it enough flex and whatnot to where it just fractured and broke off. I don't know that that's what happened, but that easily could be. So you want to make sure that screw can screw in tight. So I don't use Loctite when I put those in, because if it breaks again, or for somebody else, or just somebody wants to take it apart, it's a small screw. Drilling it out, retapping, is generally going to cause you, because you're not going to be able to drill right down the center and get that screw out perfectly without damaging the threads in the receiver. So normally it means drilling it out, you're going to be fabricating a screw from scratch, because everything's going to have to be oversized at that point. Not that it can't be done, but if you Loctite it in, and it breaks, getting the parts out now become that much more of a hassle and a headache. And there's just no need for it. Snug it up, we're good to go. I will see you next time. Have a good evening or a good morning, whenever you happen to be watching this.
Do you love guns? Hi, Gene Kelly here, and I've always been passionate about firearms. I started gunsmithing and went to gunsmithing school when I was just 18. I've been a professional gunsmith for over 40 years now, and I'm a licensed Class II manufacturer. I've been teaching gunsmithing since 1993. Now, we started the Gunsmithing Club of America 15 years ago to create a place where people who shared our passion, both professionals and hobbyists, could find reliable, trusted information on real-world gunsmithing. We wanted to provide a place where our instructors could continuously teach our members, where both hobbyists and professional gunsmiths could share their experience and learn from each other. It's to be a trusted community with reliable information. We knew that it would be an extremely powerful resource and tool to preserve our gunsmithing knowledge, provide our members with an enjoyable experience, and as a place that actually protects our firearms freedoms by keeping our guns functioning properly. As a member of the GCA, you'll have access to over 400 hours of gunsmithing instruction and techniques on video, all by qualified instructors who are masters in the field. You will receive our monthly Gun Tech video magazine and print magazine. Plus, the GCA members' website contains almost 200 extremely detailed firearm disassembly and reassembly video courses, hundreds of product reviews, firearms evaluations, and industry interviews. The Gunsmithing Club of America is a one-of-a-kind organization. There's no other club or group specifically dedicated to the art, craft, and profession of gunsmithing. As a hobbyist or a professional, you'll find that this is your source for the knowledge you need. So feed your passion about guns and gunsmithing by being a member in a community of like-minded individuals. If it sounds like you, join us today.